Musical influences? When I was little, I listened to Annie Lennox and people like Seal as I got older. I had been creative writing since the time that I was really young, and I started writing songs when I was 9 and released a record independently across Canada when I was 10, and that's where I got the first taste of it, and I knew that it was something that I had to do. This is a taste.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Multi-talented, mystical, intellectual, Alanis Morissette, born in Canada in 1974, released her first album in 1991. Her style, dance.
I just wanted to thank you for voting me Best Female, I think. Best Female what? Rocker? Rocker?
Another one of her childhood dreams was acting. At the tender age of 8, she starred in a popular American TV show.
Alanis, you must have a good idea.
I don't know.
I'm not tired of the child star question, because a lot of people sort of raise their eyebrows when they find out that I did a style that was quite different from what I'm doing now. A lot of the music that I wrote back then was for the sake of entertainment, and it was much safer. I don't think I was secure enough and fearless enough to be as unadulterated as I was on this record.
Her second album took her all the way to Rome for the filming of the An Emotion Away video.
At that time, I didn't really know what it meant to be true to yourself musically. You know, and it wasn't until I did tap into this way of sort of stream of consciousness writing. It's in retrospect now that I realize how I hadn't really tapped into my true voice. Pardon the pun.
But Canada was stifling, and Alanis soon moved to LA.
Moving to Los Angeles and just spending time alone and just growing into myself, growing into my own skin, really, just enabled me to tap into different facets of my personality that I hadn't allowed myself to before when I was younger. I just thought that the right way to portray yourself was to be positive and always have that proverbial smile on your face, you know.
Alanis Morissette, signed, believe it or not, to Madonna's Maverick label.
Being signed to the label that she's the CEO of is great, because she's an artist and she understands, you know, how important it is for us to have our freedom and the respect and not have somebody breathing down the back of our necks.
Alanis, kick ass.
Apparently, a lot of people think that my being 21 is odd because of the things that I've said and things that I've gone through, but it's my only perspective of life. It's the only one that I have, and to me, it doesn't seem odd.
1996 was a phenomenal year for Alanis. Her album Jagged Little Pill not only topped all the charts, but also remained in Billboard's top 10 for 11 months. Selling 28 million copies and counting, Alanis sent Whitney Houston's record-breaking debut album toppling, thus becoming the biggest-selling album by a female artist ever.
This record, to a very large extent, was pretty self-indulgent, and it just allowed me to come to terms with a lot of things from my past. You know, my dealing with having been immersed in the record industry since the time that I was 9 years old, and being in different creative environments that weren't necessarily conducive to my being free and open. My nature is not very angry, and that song was very subconscious for me. It was an opportunity for me to actually listen to those dysfunctional voices in the back of my head and come to terms with them, because I had repressed how I felt about the situation. I love men, and I am now attracted to men that treat me very well, and I don't put myself in situations with men that don't. When we were in the studio one day, being a little hard on ourselves because we weren't coming up with anything right away, and he was pacing, and I was sitting on the couch, and I just wrote everything down that I felt at the time. I was a little disheartened with having just moved to Los Angeles and probably having not that much money to my name at the time. So I just wrote everything that I felt, and then he sat down with the guitar and we just started jamming, and it became the song, and we recorded the vocal and the guitar and everything all at once in the same day, and the record is the original dance, sort of a payoff. And it just shot in New York. It was a 24-hour video shoot, and it was just a lot of symbolism in it. Some of it is very self-indulgent and may not really translate, but just my getting it back to myself, because although this record is very personal, there are certain times.
Hard to say which was more inescapable, that song or its somewhat schizophrenic video.
The whole shoot was loose and, just tapped into different parts of my personality, I guess.
And inspired some new personalities with a whole range of imitators like Jimmy the cab driver.
It's like meeting the girl of your dreams and finding out she's 5.
For instance, 5-year-old Alison Rome. And then there was an ironic parody by wildman Wesley Willis. And even that monster of rock himself, Ozzy Osbourne.
Sort of release and my own need to, I'm compelled to, I can't help it. The next record will simply be a continuation for that.
Please be honest, Mary Jane. Are you hey? Please don't censor your tears.
I'm still Alanis Morissette, and that's the phone.
And then came the awards, and although the lady insisted they didn't mean much to her, in '96, Alanis was swarmed by honors.
Alanis Morissette!
Alanis Morissette.
Alanis Morissette, for ironic.
Don't you think?
And the winner is Alanis Morissette.
I just somehow wish that shows like this could be less about competition and more about the acknowledgement and acceptance and celebration of our artistic differences. So maybe someday it will. The whole concept of awards, to me, I sort of have mixed emotions about it. I know that it counts as recognition for people having connected to what you've written, but at the same time, I just don't believe in the concept of someone being better or worse than another person. So I don't take it for that. I take it for the fact that people have responded emotionally to it. And
I could just continue to be able to express myself.
What does excite Alanis? Performing live.
to have the opportunity to tour and play music that I believe in and that is part of me.
Which she did virtually non-stop for 2 years, performing a total of 252 gigs across 5 continents.
When I'm on stage performing a lot of my music, it becomes less about me and more about the people in the audience relating to me, and it becomes more about them. And I even see it, I feel it, you know, it's good.
A traffic jam when you're already late. I know the smoking sign on your cigarette break. It's like 10,000 spoons, and all you need is a knife. It's me and back my dreams, and I'm meeting his beautiful wife. And isn't that ironic? Don't you think? A little too ironic. And yeah, I really think it's like, hey, it's a free ride.
22 years to complete silence.
Basically, I had never stopped in my whole life. Hadn't taken a long breath. And took a year and a half off and basically learned how to do that.
Gorgeous, how you look gorgeous.
When I did stop and I was silent and I breathed, once I got through everything that inevitably sort of came up because I was silent and ready to deal with things.
Like anyone would be, I am flattered by your fascination with me.
I was just left with an immense amount of gratitude and inspiration and love and bliss.
Referring to the much-awaited follow-up to Jagged Little Pill, Alanis said that supposed former infatuation junkie was supposed to come about in its own time and not upon request of the record company. At one point, she even considered giving it all up.
It just had to do with everything that came along with what ensues when you write a record that people want to hear. And unfortunately, for a minute or two, it made me question whether I wanted to do that again, you know? And I was, for a second or so, willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know? And then I realized that you really don't have to do that.
The values.
I was wiping the sand off of the floor at a certain section, and I laughed at myself because I knew that 6 months earlier, if I had been somewhere wiping sand off of something, I would have been doing it very kinetically and quickly and wanting to move on to the next thing. But I found myself enjoying the process of wiping sand, and I knew that there had been some changes. As you get older, I think it's perhaps a natural progression to start taking responsibility for things, and I feel that I did that more so on this record. So I think that in and of itself resulted in more of a sense of peace. God bless out there, and I'll see you next time.
Will you play La Vie